Roman Reigns with Jacob Fatu is our main event segment for this edition of Raw, and he is quickly interrupted by Seth Rollins, who, comes out to I think a great ovation. They stare down for a while, and this crowd reacts well to the both of them, giving us a combination of Seth's theme and OTC chants. Rollins says, "Hello, my brother." He says, "We've been tied together for 14 years." How old were you, Jack, when the Shield debuted?
Oh man.
You don't have to answer. Don't answer. Don't answer.
I think for the health and the mental health of all the listeners, I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay. The Wii was a system. Then was it not, or was this pre-Wii? Anyway, whatever. Rollins says, "You are holding my title, and it's time to collect." Reigns says, "Get back to the back of the line. You haven't beaten anybody to earn a shot," which to me felt like a real shot at Braun Breaker. Anyway.
Yes.
Rollins says, "When it comes to you, I am always at the front of the line. You owe me for everything you've done. And for everything you are, I own you. I own you in the ring. I own you in your head. And I own you in your heart." He owns his heart. How sweet. He brings up WrestleMania 41, where he says he pinned him and took his wise man. WrestleMania 40, where he sacrificed himself so Cody could end his reign. And he says, "You beat everybody in your 4 years as champion, except for me. Not to mention the greatest cash-in of all time." He says, "I've owned you since the day I put a steel chair in your back and ended
Remember
the
that?
Shield." No, I don't know. I think I need a reference to it. He says, "I'm not here to ask. I'm here to give you something. Everything you say you are that great. Your Mania record will never be broken, but you haven't done one thing. You have never beaten me," which I'm not so sure about that one. Quickly looking up maybe their cage match record, I feel like you'll find that to be bullshit, but maybe he needed to add a specific qualifier to it, like "You never beat me in your 4 years." Like maybe that would be valid, but like Reigns has pinned Seth Rollins, in fact.
So
Anyway.
you don't sound too hot on this rivalry.
I am hot on the rivalry. I'm not hot on
Okay,
this part
okay.
of the explanation because of
Okay, okay.
because it's just bullshit. This segment, in fact, was terrific, and it continues here with Reigns' retort here. Well, first of all, Rollins actually suggests that this may be your last time to avenge that because we're that much closer to the end, you and I, than the beginning. And he says one day you will go into the Hall of Fame and I might even induct you. But if you don't accept this challenge, you will never escape the ghost of Seth Rollins. So he says, "How about it for old time's sake?" Rollins says, "I don't want to beat you. I need to beat you. I need to beat you in front of my whole family. So I accept." And that is our match for SummerSlam: Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Your thoughts on the segment and the match itself?
Yeah, I thought this was a stellar segment. Seth, I mean, it's really hard to make a big fight out of thin air, essentially, when two guys have not crossed paths for a while. But they really pulled on the history between these two in this segment in a way that was really effective. And I enjoyed, the monologue that Seth gave. I like this sort of trend that we've seen in Roman Reigns as of late, where in all of his rivalries, his ego kind of gets the best of him and it reels him into matches. CM Punk, convinced him to pick him for WrestleMania. Jacob Fatu talked his way into a match with Roman Reigns. Fatu wasn't the most qualified person when he faced Reigns earlier this year. Seth Rollins, per Roman's assessment at the start of this, hadn't beaten anyone that made him a worthy contender, but he talked him into another matchup. And I think it's just an interesting sort of theme of Reigns' character, that he is this person who, if you really tap into his emotions, he can kind of award things to people that he wouldn't necessarily, thinking more with his more logical side, necessarily do.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrific segment from Seth Rollins in I don't even want to say like specifically pointing out like arguments from their history in order to like get you interested in the match. Like these are like major sort of like loose ends that I think Roman would want to avenge, like the embarrassment at WrestleMania 40 and then having Rollins take the wise man from him. I think these are all things that are worth the match alone. My and I thought Rollins did a great job of like, like giving you a very big, serious one to make you feel like this was something bigger than just like for the championship, but something that is tied to their history. I thought his line about like, talking about how they're much closer to the end than they are to the beginning. And again, the reminder that we're 14 years post their debuts on the main roster.
So crazy.
That is insane. And that, I don't know, maybe adds a certain level of like, maybe emotional weight to it all, knowing that like this could be among the last times you may get this like singles match with these two in their physical primes, you could still say, with the two of them. My only sort of like maybe criticism of it is just like trying to pull the wool over our eyes about like Roman never having beaten Seth, which I've just brought up here, like on the May 29th edition of Raw from 2017. You had Roman Reigns defeat Seth Rollins, among other times on television. So maybe he only means like I don't know, pay-per-view or something.
I think he was referring to Reigns' last title reign, the huge multi-year one, because when they faced off, it was a DQ finish, correct?
DQ finish in 2019. Are we talking about that?
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, pulling the wool over our eyes is possibly the best way to describe it.
But it's a minor criticism. It certainly doesn't take away from, I think, like the great job that Rollins did here in the promo, and it's a big match. Now, again, was this always in the cards? Was this always going to be the plan? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It's not that Rollins hasn't been teasing Reigns. Like he was in the tournament and said enough there about wanting, to have his championship back.
Well,
yeah.
There's nothing about this rivalry that is necessarily attached to like the point in time that we're at right now. Like the only thing that really makes it relevant now is that Roman has a title. But realistically, Seth could, if Roman still has the title 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 3 months from now, he could come out and cut the same promo and it would all make sense. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was the type of program that they just had in their back pocket and said, whenever we pull this out, people are going to love it and it'll make sense thematically. And we're just going to use it when we need to use it. And maybe that was the situation here. I mean, we are sort of getting a little, we're speculating here, but that seems plausible to me just because this isn't attached to anything that happened last week,
Yeah. Like, and again, it's not so much an issue, for me being able to get into the match now, because often like these sort of pivots are for the benefit of, the show that we're about to like go to at SummerSlam. And I think like I could buy it enough through like an explanation like this, but it's more about like, a question of how smooth they landed the plane versus like whether or not they actually landed it. Does it follow the narrative path that they have been setting up over the past month to get us to this point? Or is it just a, cool match? Let's just like change course so that we can get to it like, immediately. I do think like that deserves to be criticized, because you want a full, complete story, from beginning to end. But they do have the time to tell a full and complete story from now until SummerSlam. And it's a big match, Do you think it's the type of big match that will make a difference for SummerSlam?
That's interesting. I mean, I think that the coming weeks are going to sort of decide that. I don't know if right now this is a matchup that is necessarily this huge money fight, right? Like, at least not in the way that, like, going back to WrestleMania and comparing how we had, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. I think that sort of had a much bigger immediate buy-in from fans. That this one, I don't necessarily feel has the same amount of attraction, but they have weeks to promote it and sell it, and because of the huge lore and history that they can pull from between these two guys, I think that there's huge potential for this to be a big fight feel by the time we get to August.
Agreed.
It's July on the Post Wrestling Cafe, and that means our extensive G1 coverage begins starting July 11th. We're going to have reviews of every single G1 card right up to and including the finals in the middle of August. Plus, Rewind Away takes a look at 2 episodes of Heels. We're also going to be going back to 2005 for a review of WrestleMania 21, and it is the start of our double shot episodes covering this season of Dark Side of the Ring. Plus, we are going to dive into the 3rd season of WWE Unreal. All that and so much more can be yours by signing up to the Post Wrestling Cafe. It gets you XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, Collision Course on a weekly basis, MCU later, and so much more.